For all you out there confused by all these crazy bike types, and you just want a mountain bike, it is Hightower Day. I'm Matt from Mike's Bikes, and we're here to talk about the brand new Santa Cruz Hightower 3. This is the third generation of this awesome, do-it-all, versatile mountain bike for mountain biking. So where would you ride this bike? This bike does great on any trail that's not the est. If it's the steepest, the tiniest, the hardest, the most technical, there are other bikes for those specific styles of riding. But the Hightower shines in all of your regular mountain bike trails. So if you're on flowy single track, check. If you're riding some chunky downhill stuff that's not the most extreme, kind of video worthy, check. If you're doing long all-day adventures with climbing mountains and fire roads and some single track descents and you don't really even know what you're gonna get into, this bike. So all of the things that are not on the extremes, everything kind of in the middle, this bike shines. There are a new glove box, which you're starting to see on a lot of the Santa Cruz bikes, which really just adds your ability to carry stuff. You can carry more, you can carry it off your body. It's got a lot of benefits. There's a new little peephole. If you're familiar with the Santa Cruz, as they've gone to their lower length bikes, the rear shock is kind of hidden in there. So it's a little hard to measure your sag and kind of see what's going on. So there's a little tiny hole in there that allows you to peek in there. That's kind of cool. You're also getting size specific stiffness targets and size specific chainstay lengths. So not a big deal if you're a medium or a large rider, because those are sort of right in the middle. But if you're on a small or an XL or a double XL, you're not dealing with some of the challenges of making a bike designed to be a medium all of a sudden a lot bigger or a lot smaller. So the bike should feel the way it's intended to, no matter what size you're on. And the last thing that's really cool about this bike are the colors. You've got the matte emerald, and I especially love this translucent purple color behind. It's a beautiful paint job. It kind of fades in and out of tinted carbon to the kind of the purple paint. So you catch the light right, it glints off the carbon, and it's just a really cool purple color. It's kind of fun, but it's not so wild that you're not gonna get laughed at by your buddies.
And it's really high quality.
A little bird just flew down and told me it's very high quality paint. In fact, this is the highest, qualitiest paint they've ever made. The biggest difference is the front end got a little bit slacker and a little bit longer. So it's right there in that 64.5, which is kind of the sweet spot for a do-it-all bike right now. The other important pieces of geometry haven't really changed much, but if you haven't ridden a modern trail bike, the summary of what makes it modern and what makes it great are you get the longer and you get the slacker, and basically your weight is now sitting a little bit further back between the wheels. So short chainstay, longer front end, your center of gravity moves back in the bike, and again, that gives you more confidence. The seat angle sits up a little bit more steeply, so you can sit over the pedals more and pedal up a climb easier. When you get all of a sudden up on a 15% grade, when your weight goes back, that steeper angle helps in those situations. Suspension kinematics. The other major change they made to this bike is adjusting the anti-squat. And basically what anti-squat is, you can do a deep dive on the internet and get all crazy, but basically what it is creating kinematics in the suspension to decouple the chain force from the suspension force. So what Santa Cruz did on this bike from the previous Hightower is they reduced the anti-squat. So the chain force and the suspension aren't as good of friends anymore. They don't have as much of an impact on each other. And the intended sensation, what they wanted you to feel on the bike, is that when you are descending and you're holding your feet flat, right, you're holding the chain steady, what they wanted is the wheel to be able to move freely so you're not impacting the ability of the suspension to react to the terrain. With that front end that's a little bit further out there, and kind of the more free active rear suspension, this bike should really handle the technical stuff even better than the previous one. The geometry is spot on, but geometry, anybody can make a bike with the same measurements. That's pretty easy to do. The secret sauce and the magic DNA behind Santa Cruz has always been their suspension and how it feels and how well it rides in a lot of different situations. You're gonna have confidence. It's gonna feel plush when it's supposed to feel plush. You're gonna feel supported when you get into some bigger stuff. But then the thing that stands out to me also is just how well it pedals, how well it rolls. When you come out of a corner and you get on the gas a little bit, or you got a little rise in the trail, the bike kind of has a liveliness for a pretty long travel bike. And then the second thing about the Santa Cruz suspension is you don't really need to tinker with it much. It's almost like as long as you keep the air pressure close to right and the knobs are not too far off, like if I don't ride my Hightower for a month and I hop on and kind of glance at the sag and make sure that it's good, off we go and the bike feels amazing. All right, so last but not least, the prices and specs of these bikes. Typical Santa Cruz builds from their CR all the way up to X01 Access Reserve. Price range $5,500 up to over 10 grand, and lots in between. There's two spec levels that stand out to me as kind of a pretty cool choice you get to make. One is the GX Axis with Fox Performance Elite. And then for roughly around the same price, you can get, you can lose the electronic shifting, which is really cool, but you can get rid of that to go to X01 mechanical, but then you gain the Fox factory suspension. So it's kind of neat to have right around the same price range, the ability to kind of pimp out your suspension or pimp out your drivetrain. So kind of a neat choice there. Well, thanks for listening to your favorite old man average mountain biker talk about mountain bikes. Our data shows that once we get to a certain point where there's only a few seconds left, the